episode number 50. This is a really good round number to be talking about what's really important in today's society. Educating our young people, educating our youth. Today's talk is about doing the heart thing, Kristi Maggio, that has won my heart quite some weeks ago when our dear friend Glenn Marsden has put us so many things, and especially that I got to meet you, Kristi. I won't be talking too much today because it is Kristi's day to inspire us so that you know how impactful she is. After starting Maggio Multicultural Academy and Foundation, Kristi's mission became clear: to impact the lives of 1 billion youth in the next 10 years by providing an educational program based on entrepreneurship. Kristi says something that is very heartwarming. I don't do hard work. I do hard work because nothing is ever hard. Reminder. Welcome, Kristi. It's wonderful to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much, Roxana. It's wonderful to be here. And, I just working with young people is truly, it's a gift because they're not easy, but at the same time, you really have to love it because sometimes it's just like, oh my gosh, what are you thinking? But it's true. Everything that I do comes from my heart. And when that idea came to my mind, I thought to myself, well, that's a really good answer as to why I don't ever get tired. I'm up extremely early every morning. I work most of the day until later at night. And everything I do is focused around my mission and my vision. But that's the thing. And I often tell my students this, when you can find something that you truly love to do and make it your work, then you don't live for the weekend. You don't say, oh, it's Monday morning. Oh, I'm so happy it's Friday because I have 2 days off. You live for what you're doing because it's going to change so many lives. And however, there are those moments that I'm just like, oh, I would love a day without my phone, or I would love a day that I don't have to worry about answering email. Like, we all get those moments, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm not excited about what it is that I do and what I'm working towards. But, we all would like a little break sometimes, but sometimes, it chooses us. We don't choose it.
Wow, this is powerful when you say that it chooses us, that we don't choose it. Can you please share with us, how did your mission choose you, Kristi?
So it's one of those things where I had fought against becoming a teacher for a very long time. My mom was a teacher. My aunts were teachers. It was something that everyone was a teacher. And I'm like, I'm not going to be a teacher. I wanted to, I learned Italian and I studied Italian, and I wanted to go into international business. So in college, I majored in economics as well as Italian. And however, when you're gifted everybody has a gift. Everybody has the ability to do something incredible. And so my gift has always been helping others and teaching them how to do things and break things down step by step in a way that just makes it fun and activates their mind, and they just loved it. So I had taught for the first time that I was teaching was at the college and university level. I taught at Ohio State University, University of Virginia, Syracuse University, and that's a whole different aspect. And so when the students would come back to me and be like, wow, this is we love this, like, this is not normal language learning, you know? And even with my students, my middle school and high school students, they really just enjoyed being in my class. And so I realized that that was my gift. That was something that I had the ability to do. But also I recognized too, especially with the middle school and high school kids, how much they're struggling in a day-to-day impact in life and how much they need guidance and mentoring. And so I started doing, you know, the detention rooms and, you know, after school, like when kids would get suspended, and working with those kids. And for me, that was the most rewarding because they were just lost. They needed someone that was going to stimulate them, not just let them sit there and sleep and feel like that they're just, you know, over and done with everything and no one's going to care about them anymore. And so I always had the great relationships with what they call at-risk children, those that, you know, are always in trouble. But it wasn't until a moment came where I was proctoring a final exam, and it was a biology exam. And I walked into this room and there were all of these desks, like a big exam room, and there were dictionaries on each of the desks. And I'm like, what are these books? And they're like, well, they're dictionaries because these are the ESL students, like the English as a second language students. And they were the first, like most of them were refugee kids that had only been there for a year. And I'm thinking to myself, there's 200, I don't know, 100, 200 kids in this room, and they're taking a biology exam in high school. Is the first year that they've learned English, and they have to do it with a dictionary. And I'm thinking, are we giving them an exam? Are we testing them on their language ability, or are we testing them on their knowledge of biology? And so you wonder why a lot of these kids sometimes don't make it, because they're so frustrated, because the system, that's what part of it does. It doesn't, you know, it makes kids that are already just coming to a new country from somewhere else feel as though they can't make it. You know, it's difficult enough as it is. And then let's put something on top of it, as opposed to giving them full immersion. They have to take all these classes, and their high school level, you know, I can imagine for me, it would be like going to, you know, I don't know, going to Spain and doing vice versa. Or some of these kids were from Burma, you know, like a lot of these kids were from Burma. So, you know, going there and trying to learn their language in 1 year, and then at the end of the year, take an exam in biology, right? Like if you flip it around, you think that's insane. And so it's like, why don't we just set them up for, it is just setting them up for failure. And I'm like, there has to be a different way. So I thought I was going to come to the Dominican Republic. I'm like, I had gotten my administrative degree in New York State, and I was going to come to the Dominican Republic. I was going to perfect my Spanish, and I was going to go back and do an administration position, because I felt I needed to be in a higher level in order to make any change. And I needed to just keep moving up, because I wasn't going to be able to do it or change policy from a lower level. But then when I got to the Dominican Republic, I'm just like, okay, this is a whole different world. Not only did I learn Spanish, but I'm like, I can have my own school and I can start that. But it didn't start right away. It's not like I came here and I just said, oh, I'm going to open a school. It took 3 years, because the first year I worked for another school. And the next 2 years, I tutored out of my own home private classes to save up the money to be able to do that. And then I opened in 2016 with 7 students That's it. And then it grew over the years to 85 students. And it just kept growing every year. But the thing was, for those first 3 years, I, people thought I was crazy. People thought I was, what are you doing? Like, you could be back here. I was working week to week, scrimping by. I didn't have a car. I would go to the supermarket on the weekends on the bus with a little rolly carry-on suitcase to get groceries and then take the bus back again. Like, for 3 years, I lived like that, and 4 years actually. And so the thing is that there was a lot of fear in there. And so when we bring that in, it's like, there was something in my heart at that moment that was like, I really could do something completely different that most people don't do because they're afraid if it doesn't work. I'm like, if this doesn't work, then I have to go back home and I have to put my head down and I have to, feel like I failed. But then I'm like, but what if it does work? What if it does? How many lives am I going to impact? And so we often tell ourselves the negative side. If it doesn't work, this is going to happen. But then we have to stop and say, but if it does work, how many lives am I going to impact? How many people am I going to change? Who am I going to be able to give a whole different future to, right? And how am I going to also be happy? Am I going to be happy doing it? And the answer to all of those, if it does work, was yes, 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 yes. And so when we see, like, today, it's 9 years of working towards, getting to where I am at this moment. And it's still a work in progress. A lot of it is lonely. A lot of it you're doing on your own, especially when you're starting something, you're bootstrapping everything, right? But I just believed so much in my mission. And my mission initially was just to be able to not have to be able to create my own system and work with kids that I was just able to do it the way I wanted to do it. That worked. And then that evolved into, wow, I can help so many other people here in the community. And then it evolved to, okay, I'm going to start a foundation because I helped build wells and, helped with other, humanitarian projects and providing education. And then I'm just like, then when COVID hit, everything got pulled right out from under me. It was like someone took a wrecking ball and just knocked everything down. Everything went away. I had to close the school. I lost everything. I had just put a deposit on land to build a whole new school, and I lost all of that. So I was just like, I felt like someone punched me in the stomach and I couldn't catch my breath. And I'm like, God, why? I've, worked so hard. My mission is to help other people. Why did this happen? And a lot of times when those things happen, we stop and we say, well, it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant for me to do this. And again, in the background, family is like, well, just come back. You can get a teaching job. Everything will be fine. It happened. It's not your fault. But part of it was my fault because I didn't have the right system in place. I was trying to be a one-woman show. You can't do that. Mind you, I had other teachers, but I was like, if I have to do it, if I have to explain it, I'll just do it myself. If I have to do this, I'll just do it. And then I didn't know how to pivot fast enough to get those parents that abandoned the school, to get them back. And so while, yes, there is some truth in that, COVID like just kind of was like, what do I do now? Like, why is this happening? There's also my responsibility in that I did not know a lot of business things. I was always trying to do everything myself. And a lot of times people try to save money by doing it themselves and not hiring others. And at that point in time, I could have hired other people to help me with different aspects, other than the teachers. I had teachers in the school, but other people to do other behind the scenes work that I was taking on myself. And so with that being said, there's a lot of things I would have done differently had I gone back, were to go back to then now. But the thing is, when things like that happen, we fear that would happen, like that everything would crumble. But at the same time, my biggest fear at that moment was, how do I get it? Can I rebuild? Can I build it again? And if I can't, am I going to be satisfied with going back to a regular job? And I'm like, no, I'm not. But I don't know what to do. I don't know how. I don't know. And so in these past 2 years, while I didn't understand then why this had happened, I managed to turn it around and start interviewing other people and finding their success. And how can I help other young people right now? I can get on, I could do mentoring groups. I can do a lot of things now through Zoom that we couldn't do before. And so then that led me to interviewing people like we're doing here, who came from really difficult beginnings and had horrible or difficult childhoods, but are successful in their industry today. And I ended up writing a book at the same time. I was able to learn more about online teaching, online learning, online instruction that I wouldn't have had the time to do had that not happened. So while, and one of the people that I listen to, he says, sometimes a setback is really a set up for something greater. And so when I think about it, every time something that I or you or something that bad happened in my life, it didn't go the way I had planned. What happened next was better than I could even have imagined. So I just kept in the back of my mind, I'm not going to let the fear of not making it, I'm not even going to entertain the thought that I'm not going to get back on track. What I am going to do is hold on to those moments where I knew that, okay, every time something challenging or quote unquote bad or negative happened, I could go back and remember the next thing that happened was always something greater than I had ever even imagined. And so I just held that in my mind. Something great is coming. I can't even envision it. And that's how great it's going to be. And so, and it happened. And it did, because I just refused to give up. And don't get me wrong, these past 2 years, I mean, other than closing the school, I had to go back home and live with my mom. I had no money coming in. I had people that I needed to, debt that I needed to pay from from the school because I put all of my money into the land that I ended up losing. I mean, when you think about it, like I hid because I had to go back to the small town that I was from. And I'm like, I can't. And this is where my ego came in. It's like, I can't let people think that I failed. I can't let people know that I'm here. I can't. And I literally hid inside, and I didn't go out for months other than to the supermarket or something like that, because I was embarrassed that I felt like I failed, but I had to keep going at the same time and figure out how to get back on track again. And I didn't know how. I didn't know how. And unfortunately, my last November, my dad passed away from COVID, and it was a horrible blow. Horrible. But and unfortunately, that gave me, though, the ability to start over again a little bit financially, which is it's in that sense, I don't know why things happen the way they happen. I put a lot of blame on myself because I think there was so much that happened in this world at that point. But at the same time, I need to make sure that it's not for nothing. I need to make sure that whatever it is that I do is not, it is in honor of the fact that he raised me the way that I have to make him proud. Myself, my family, my mom, who sacrificed so much for me as well. But unfortunately, we don't see the road ahead. And so it's kind of like, when you drive down a dark road at nighttime, like in the countryside, you only see that little bit of light from the car in front of you, right? But you know that the road is there. You just don't know how it's paved. And so it was a huge difficulty, but it allowed me the ability to start over again. And I just feel, though, that the one thing in it as to when somebody, if you're out there, if you have something placed in your heart, just hold on to it. You might need to work a 9 to 5 for a while, right? You might need to work in something that you don't really like. But one of the things is that don't get so caught up in that job that you forget what your true mission is, because so many people let years go by and they say, I don't have time to work on it. I don't have time to do this. I don't have, so busy. But if it's in your heart to do it, You have to. You have to do it, because success is not the money or the cars or the fame or the fortune. Success is knowing that you wake up every day and you're doing what you love. That's success. And everything else is a byproduct of that, because then the more you can do that and find a way to make money doing it, then the more you can be of service to other people in this world. And so I think that that is one of the most important things, because I am no different than anybody else who might be millionaires or billionaires today. I'm on a path or a journey there. Maybe I will get to that amount of money. Maybe I won't. I hope I do, because the more money I make, it's the more people I can help. So a lot of times people are like, well, I'm really trying to help kids and things like that. And you come at it from a lack mindset, right? But the one thing that, I learned from Naveen Jain, he's like, if you want to do a small good in the world, you start a nonprofit. If you want to do a big good in the world, you do a for-profit. And why? Because there's only so many people you can reach with a nonprofit. It's good for community. It's good for starting. But if you can help, and this is from him, 1 billion people, you can have a $100 billion company. But it's not about the money. I'm not focused on the money. But without the money, you can't help people. And so he said, so when I was like, I need to do, this was in like 2 years ago when I had first, when all of this came crashing down, I'm like, I want to help these kids. He's like, Kristi, you need to help yourself first. He's like, because if you have nothing coming in, how are you going to help them? Right. And I'm like, and it just was a shift in my mind that it's not about that, but the more you have, the more you give. Right. And so, but in looking at all of that and looking at the mindset that I was in and having it shift in that way, it's true. But we often see the end product, right? We don't see how they started. And the only difference between those that are living the life they want and those that aren't is because they listened to the mission that chose them. They listened to their internal heart and followed what they knew they were meant for and didn't let anything deter them from that path. And so that's the only difference. We can look at hundreds of people in history. For example, and I love this example, is like the Wright brothers, they were the first to build the flying machine, right? They had zero funds. They just had the little bicycle shop and everything. But they kept on going over and over and over. And the other man who was they were in competition with this other man who was being given the money by, rich people. And the problem was that desire, that hunger, that heart to do this and get it right and fulfill that for them was so much stronger because they had to work for it than when it's just given to you, right? So when we are on our journey, and I say, I'm 9 years into it. It took me 3 years just to open the door of the school for the first time, right? And behind the scenes, people don't see the hours that you spend. And maybe people don't want to do that, right? Maybe people don't want to spend the hour. Maybe they want the 9 to 5. They want to be able to spend time with their family and go on vacation and not have to, focus so much on that. Well, then that's okay. That's their choice. But to make it in a way where you are truly living a life of purpose, a life that we have all, whether you believe in God, I believe in God, God has put us on this earth to do something special. He's given us all gifts. And so therefore, I love this one thing that Les Brown said to me is like, he said, you know what hell is? And I said, and it was in a group thing and in a group chat. And it was like, okay, what is it? He's like, it's the day that you die and the person that you are meets the person that you are supposed to be. And anytime I think about giving up on that, I think about that because for some reason that is a huge impact to me. Huge. I can't imagine giving up today and then come down the road and I see myself in the mirror and I see what I could have been had I not given into the fear, had I not given into the naysayers, because it's scary. There's the fear of, of poverty, like of what had just happened to me, of losing it all, right? There is the fear of something happening to you. There is the fear of what other people think. There's the fear of, not making it. And there's so many things that come in your mind. And it's like, wow, it's incredible because those that don't do what they have set in their heart, I guarantee most of them didn't do it simply because the fear was stronger than the mission. And it's not an easy thing to overcome. It's just one of those things that you need to spend your time, like I spend my morning doing gratitude. As soon as I wake up, I listen to a pastor, a scripture, or something that is motivational and positive. To set my mind in that right spot. And it's just as simple as, if you want to make it even simple, I say it's a good day. Today's a good day to have a great day. And it's very simple. It's very simplistic. Anybody can do that one. But when you think about it, it's training your mind to not allow the fear to overcome you. It's training your mind to think, what if it does work? Instead of what if it doesn't work? And so, yeah.
Wow, Kristi, what a story. I've been writing things down, thinking of, you are the only person, Kristi, that I ever heard say that, what happens during COVID with the school, it's my fault. Anyone would say, well, it can't be my fault because it's, it's COVID. I can't control what's happening out there. However, you can be cautious, you can take all sorts of precautions, you can take all sorts of measures. What a strong mindset and what an amazing story. And I just want to say that I'm so sorry for your dad.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So, but again, in looking at that, had the school, so here's another way of looking at in a positive way. Had the school not gone down, had I managed to turn things around, I would have been in the Dominican Republic. I was able to spend those last few months with my dad. We had coffee every morning. We would, I was able to be there. And again, that is a higher power orchestrating these things, because if not, I hadn't lived there for 8 years. So I was able to spend that time. So when you're looking at things and you're just like, why is this happening? Just stay the course. The answer as to why it's happening will come. I promise. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be in a month. It may not even be in a year, but you're going to turn around here and say, if that didn't happen, if the school didn't close, if I didn't make the mistakes that I did, then I wouldn't have been there to be able to spend that time with him. So on a bright side, which is a huge bright side, I was able to spend that time. And that is enough, sunshine for me, even out of that really difficult moment.
Wow. When there's a story this impactful, I feel that, I'm going to listen to you talk again after we finish in the evening today and just take some time to think things over, because, sometimes we just think we know it all, but there's just so much underneath the surface that our heart tells us. And if there's one amazing lesson that I want everyone to take from today, is to just listen to your heart, because it may know more than you think you do. Ego does give you the idea that I know it all, I have it all under control, but you sometimes don't, and that's okay. And I think that when you tap into your heart, that's when the magic really happens. That's when you feel like you lose control, but that's when you start actually living. What do you think, Kristi?
I agree. And one thing that just came to my mind that's so important is when people are afraid of what others will think, if they'll be judged, if they'll, they don't want to, start that new business or do this because they know their family or this person or that person is the naysayers are there. Listen to me. If I always do this to myself, it's the should I do it test, right? If nobody else existed in the world besides me, would I do it? If those people, if anyone around it would, if my answer is yes, then I'm not doing it because I'm afraid of what other people are going to think. And that tells me whether I'm doing it because I want to, or if I'm doing it, or if I don't really want to do it at all. Right? So if those people weren't there, if I were just to go out and do whatever and they didn't exist, and whatever's laying on my heart or whatever I want to do would be a yes, then I would go and do it, because then I know that I truly want to do it. So that's one of the things that I do with myself to see, okay, am I not doing something because I'm afraid of what other people are going to say or think, or am I not doing it because I'm really not interested in doing it at all? It's just a time waste, it's just like, and so when it boils down to it, if I don't do something, and the answer is because I don't know what he's going to say or she's going to say or that person going to say or the other person going to say, then I know that it's something that I need to do, because I'm not doing it because of what others think. Yeah.
Wow. This is a genius question, Kristi. I'm going to use this myself. Amazing. Wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this. And oh my God, you know, I would keep you for another hour, but I know you have also
Yes. Thank you
amazing
so much.
activities to do. Kristi, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you for putting your heart out there. I can see your heart. And I'm wishing you all the most amazing successes in this world. And they are going to happen because your heart is so pure. You come from a place of love and wanting to help. And you inspire me, you inspire us to do the same. And before we go, Kristi, how can our audience get in touch with you and support you with this amazing mission?
Sure. I am on most social media as Kristi, Kristi Maggio, Maggio. There's the foundation side, Maggio Multicultural Foundation. As well, we have our online academy, which is a first through 12th grade. And students from around the world, team mentoring as well. So, and that is maggiovirtualacademy.com. So you can check out any of our programs as well. So thank you.
Wonderful. Kristi, thank you so much. What a privilege. And I look forward to seeing the amazing things that you will be creating in the future.
Thank you so much, Roxanne. I really appreciate your time as well and inviting me to be on your show.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.